with a grain of salt, because it is impossible to replicate a LAN game on a scrim game, right? Because people don't play with the same kind of risk. People aren't as scared when it comes to those online performances. However, when you get to LAN, suddenly people are a little bit more worried about throwing away those hundreds of thousands of dollars that are on the line.
Well, I mentioned that there's going to be some entertainment coming through this weekend, Dan. And let me tell you, we're going to have quite an appearance tomorrow. We've got Sim, who are going to be joining us in the building. I've got to be honest with you, Dan, I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a live performance tomorrow. It's going to be incredible.
We are the champions. We are the champions. We know the league to play and not the game. We'll be the champions. Say what Just fight a win like we aim for, not afraid to change my fate.
運命が呼んでいる。
This is going to be fun. I cannot wait. I've got to be honest with you. It's just like something special, right? It's something different. It's something which is so exclusive to the ALGS Championships, Dan. And you know me. I love my music. I'm looking forward to seeing.
I think you're going to be front row, rocking out. You're not allowed to join him. Well, make sure I create a barrier.
I'm going to bring my own guitar.
That can't happen.
Sneak in the background.
Actually, you are very talented as a musician. So
Stop you.
if anyone could do it, it probably would be you. But yeah, it's going to be amazing. I think it's something very unique, like you mentioned, and I think we're very lucky that they have joined us to create a song for this event. Like, unbelievable,
Champions,
really.
Right? It's going to be awesome. I mean, we're lucky enough to maybe I'm just saying, you know, we're kind of like, we're privy to cool stuff, right? So we kind of might have heard a little bit of a sneak peek of the track.
Might have we?
Did
You
not?
may have. You get extra
I have
stuff.
heard.
Well, good for you.
Sneak peek.
And how was it?
It's a banger.
Amazing, a banger.
It's a banger. I think you'll love it.
I think I will as well. I think the players are going to love it. I've actually heard a lot of people
crowd's gonna
talking
love
about it. There are some who, you know, particularly into that type of music, who are super excited, and even those who aren't into that type of music are like, hell yeah, this is going to be incredible. So yeah, it'll be something to watch out for sure.
It's going to be a great way to start the Saturday here, start the weekend. A little bit of Sim in the building. I'm actually gassed for it tomorrow. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be one of my favourite parts of the event, I think. It's just something, like I say, so unique, so exciting. And I mean, there's no better way to get a crowd going, I think, on a Saturday morning. A little bit of metal.
Certainly to get the players hyped, get the fans absolutely out of their seats as well. And by the way, it's getting more full every single time I look up at those stands.
Busier, I think, is
More full.
the term that you're looking for.
It is getting more full day after day, and I've heard it's sold out Sunday.
Sold out Sundays.
Sold out
That's what we love to
Sundays.
hear. That's
I
what we
mean,
love
it's
to
something
hear.
we're used to in Apex, you know. One of the best esports in the world, if not the best, so that's why we get so many of them.
Well, one thing, as we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, we had some friendly banter, I think is the term for it, is the Creator Showdown. And that's happening a little bit later today. We've said that we don't know if we're on the same team, but apparently we're playing it. Are you playing M&K or Controller, by the way?
MK.
Playing M&K?
I am.
Where are you dropping?
Not telling you.
No, I am
I don't
coming.
even know what map
I am going.
To be fair, I don't know what map we're playing, but it is going to start
to
off
find you.
with solos. So when we
I
play
am going
solos,
to find you. I want to sit at production. Whoever's in League Ops, I want to sit next to Dan's booth.
Production, I do not want to sit next to Mark. Ah, I've heard I'm sitting next to Mark. That's
Even
no.
better, I want to sit above you.
Well, it's going to be Launch Royale on Kings Canyon and World's Edge. And then we move over to TDM on Monument
This
and
is so
Skull
free.
Tower.
I am going to become a champion on the main stage in Sapporo.
I would love to see it. I mean, as long as one of us becomes champion, I'd be happy because, you know, we're a team.
You wouldn't like it if I won,
Why not?
because you
I'd
know I
never
would
hear
shut
the
up
end of
about it.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I don't mind. I live for your success. I'll live vicariously through you. I'm not expecting to win, but I'm going to have a good time
Okay.
and entertain the crowd.
Are we going to be on the same team for TDM, do you think?
I think it's randomized. So as long as they split, I think Graceful's playing and I think Euresa's playing. So like two ex-pros, as long as they're not on the same team, then I don't care.
Sounds like a good team, actually. Graceful, Eureka, and Onset.
Maybe ALGS Year 5?
It's a possibility.
BLGS.
Saying I got competitive experience.
You do?
Didn't quite make it to day 2 of BLGS, but we were there. We were represented. I was really worried, like, if there was a broadcast for the BLGS, by the way, that we would have had a listening when we were playing. It would have been bad. But you know, that's kind of how it goes. Now that we've talked about the BLGS, we've talked about everything, though. Of course, we've got a new season coming up, Dan. Season 24 is just around the corner. If you're excited for it, well, here's a little trailer for you. Season 24, just around the corner, everyone. I've got to say, Dan, my takeaway from that looked pretty octane. By the way, preface what I'm about to say. I actually know nothing, which is, if you know me, it's not a surprise to anyone. But looked pretty octane heavy. Octane kind of
I could see
like
that.
The main character.
There was a lot of Octane. I don't mind that. I mean, I saw.
You were saying the other day, actually, Octane's still so fun to play.
He is very.
Wig's going to be happy.
Wig will be very happy indeed. I've heard him often saying he hopes Octane gets some sort of buff so he can be back in the meta, and then maybe we'll see Wig return and play and compete. No, I don't think so. I think he's past that, is he?
Your words, not mine. Crazy from you.
I think he said it himself, to be completely
Crazy
honest.
from you. Wig, I still believe in you. And if you fancy stepping into the Creator Showdown and you're not too busy, you want to team with me, just let me know. I can make that happen.
Remember
Anyway.
when he used to do the runs with like every controller he could possibly find? Like it didn't matter.
GameCube controller.
Yeah, GameCube controller, N64 controller, whatever it was that would work, he would use it. But yeah, season, I cannot wait for it. I'm always so hyped for a new Apex season as well, whether it be, you know, legend changes, gun changes, map changes, whatever. Like, just give it to me. I love the breath of fresh air that is blown into Apex Legends with any new season.
Yeah, it's fun hearing JB's kind of hinting at maybe things will change. Maybe we're not going to. This might be a distant memory, the support meta that we're currently finding ourselves in. And if it is a distant memory, you know, you got to presume, you know, what's going to be next. I like the idea of Octane being buffed.
I don't hate it.
I also saw a little bit of ballistic in there.
Oh, that's something we've not seen on the main stage.
Have an Englishman who can play in ranked. Anyway, while this tech pause continues, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back as soon as possible, hopefully to get this game back underway.
Official controller of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Herman Miller, the official chair of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to Sapporo, Japan. Welcome back to the ALGS Championships. Welcome back to day 3. I had to think about that for just a second. I saw you got slightly nervous because the pause went on a little bit longer than expected. But if you're just joining us, welcome along. Don't worry, you haven't missed too much because we've had a technical pause, which has been a little bit elongated. Hopefully we can get this game 1 back underway as soon as we can. But it does give us an opportunity just to once again show you how many people were turned up here in Sapporo, and the seats keep filling second by second. And the good thing is, maybe, you went out last night, you had a bit of a rough morning.
Bit of karaoke.
Bit too much ramen, whatever it might be. You haven't missed anything if you turn up a little bit late. Lay in, get some good breakfast, turn up, make some noise.
I did see someone using a tablet as a virtual sign as well that was flashing between
what a world we live in.
Different player faces, then the Reignite logo, and then more player faces.
This is the evolution of science. Someone's going to turn up with an abacus. They're just going to, that's what they're going to do with it, because that makes no sense.
But they might turn up with one.
Stone tablet.
You never really know what people can do, right?
All right, well, one man that we kind of heard a little bit about yesterday is the man on your screen right now, Albrelele, 2 years away from the LAN environment. Well, he's back here on Stallions, looking good, looking to make it through, of course, to that finals, and we were lucky enough to hear from him yesterday.
Gamers Origin, or TSM, who will be your champions?
In the moment, I really couldn't believe that it happened.
Portal out here for TSM. 5 seconds and counting.
I still was kind of in shock.
What we're worried about is they're just a setback here for TSM. Who is going to do it? TSM!
It's kind of crazy being thrown straight from being a nobody to a somebody so fast.
And you're winners of the Apex Legends preseason Invitational.
When you're walking out onto stage to go lift that trophy with your teammates, nothing really compares to that. Nothing sets you up for the overwhelming emotion that's gonna hit you. Winning really early, all eyes are on you constantly. The feeling of what now kind of turned itself into self-destructiveness. After the LAN, I didn't really know what to do. And then COVID hit, and that feeling just got even more intense. Losing the opportunity of playing at LAN and not knowing when that will ever come back completely destroyed my mental at the time. I just became very angry and distant to everybody. The way that I was feeling at that time basically led to the destruction of that TSM roster. That really led to the basically free fall between a bunch of different rosters. I kept trying to find some kind of stability and right feeling with a team. And it took a really long time to try to find that. Reflecting on a lot of the mistakes that I made with my previous rosters kind of showed me that I needed to just stop trying to be the hero of the teams and give my teammates the trust that I want them to have in me. I think what's special about Stallions is that we all kind of fit into our role properly. Guri is very much like the glue of the roster. He keeps things lighthearted. Crook, he's quiet but chill and very level-headed. I'm the more serious one, I guess. Success in this tournament would mean everything to us. Going into this LAN, we're unsigned. Crook still works a normal job. Polo does too. If we're successful, then orgs have their eyes on us. For me personally, success in this tournament would kind of show me that it wasn't all for nothing. The amount of hardship and struggling that I personally have been through the past couple years would just be really self-fulfilling for me to know that it was all worth it.
Some very poignant words from Albrelele about the journey that he's been on, right? And it has been a journey full of incredible highs and, by his own words, some lows as well. But he's back on this main stage, and I think anyone who's a fan of Apex Legends, anyone who's been a fan of TSM's run back in the day, and Albrelele's story is going to be excited to see him back on that main stage. As are we. We are back underway in game number 1 here. Thank you so much for your patience. Dan, thank you for your patience having to listen to me for the last few moments. But good news, everybody, the game is live. We're back underway in our elimination bracket.
A couple of knocks coming in straight away off of the unpause, but I think both of those teams should be able to get those players back on their feet. Now, I'm glad we did look at Stallions, because actually, from the group stages here of the teams that are in elimination round 1, they were the best performing E-District team, averaging 7.5 points per game on E-District. So I really think that Stallions are going to put their best foot forward here on these first 3 maps to try and get into that elimination round 2.
Team Burgo hit the evac, find themselves a spot inside of this zone, and these little silos are such a good area to get a Newcastle wall down. Just be able to have that 360 cover, and yes, indeed, you can see exactly what I'm trying to indicate to you wonderful people at home. Well, Sharky does an even better job of it. Always found it interesting, by the way, that Sharky was, you know, the early days of Apex Legends, widely regarded as one of the best Gibraltars in the world, but with the responsibility that you have as Newcastle now, I kind of like the change, you know, not being on the Gibraltar and him actually running that Newcastle, feeling confident enough to take that role on his shoulders.
You need someone who can think on their feet with a Newcastle player for sure. You can't just willy-nilly slam it down anywhere. Like, sure, you can hope for the best, but there are very precise moments where you really need it to be in that exact position. Otherwise, it could be the difference between dying or staying alive. Now, Meteor, they're going to be rotating on the west side at the moment, and they can go across the bridge if they want to, but they could also continue to go north. If they do that, excuse me, then they will maybe get a better run-in and not be griefed as easily.
Just a little update for you on the map overhead. Mythic Bin going to be spawning over at Draft Point. Not only is it spawning there, but you also have a ring console over at Draft Point, so a real strong rotation and maybe a potential choke point as we do take a look at our map overhead. You can see that big red blob. That's where the Mythic Bin's going to be coming up, and if you can grab that, not only are you going to get those shields leveled up, you're going to get the weaponry, you're going to have access to that ring console, and I got a feeling that maybe a couple of teams might start thinking about, do we make a play for this? Because if you do get that Mythic Bin, if you do get the ring console information, and maybe win a fight along the way, you're going to be in a pretty strong spot moving forward. Oh,
it's disgusting if you can get hold of the Mythic Bin, that's for sure. Zone pulls back east over towards ALGS and Hungary, who are pretty much dead central, as well as NRG, Reignite, and Disguise. Even Dreamfire down on that southern side are going to be in a good place as well. Now, FaZe Clan will have that information from Shipyard Arcade, and then they're going to have to try and actually move out of this POI now. They aren't going to be able to stay there for too long. Of course, they could continue to hover, but they might want to move sooner rather than later. And another team, LG, on the eastern side as well. They're in a pretty good spot right now.
Meteor making a wrap as well to Viaduct, maybe thinking about hitting ring console. One thing that you can do a little bit as well in this meta, just with the support legends that you have, is just zone wrap a little bit more without the worry, just because you can get those syringes off, get a little bit more health than previously you could have. So, speaking of the Mythic Bin, PKG are going to be able to pick it up. What have we got in there, Dan? Squint my eyes. Got a bow check,
Gold
got a scout, gold PK. Most importantly, they're up to reds now.
I mean, if a team's running at you with 2 gold PKs and a gold scout and a bow check, probably not going to be
Full
in a
red
good
armor.
position. Yeah, full red armor. So VK, who, again, we alluded to it, they have had good performances in the group stages. They just didn't quite get over that point threshold. Maybe it was a little bit higher than expected. They could be a real threat in this lobby, and they were our second best performing team on E-District.
Well, now we're going to start to see the pace pick up here. Zone is closing, teams, 20 of them still alive. Nobody in the lobby. It's not a full team. It's X and Y versus Stallions. Bobber went down a little bit later for X and Y. Flesh damage coming in here from Crook as well. Albrelele's having to take his time to pop a battery, and he's got to close this gap, and he's got to make sure that Mastiff is reloaded. X and Y eliminated. Stallions should be able to reset here, because that knock onto Scurry came from a little bit of distance from Blinkzer with a charge rifle.
Yeah, no one to jump on it, I don't think. LG are the closest team. But so are Oblivion. And Stallions now might be the spot of bother here.
Don't get the bubble down either. Which means that Albrelele will be taken out of the game. Question, as always, now is going to be, do they have the ability to res? A couple of charge rifles firing off, by the way. Fully decked one here for Blinkzer, by the way. He's got the select fire on it. Nano's got something in his back pocket that he didn't have to pick up. Sheila starting to wind up, starting to get loose.
Maybe some good news for Stallions is that Oblivion did get shot from another squad, so it just gives them a moment of respite to consider how they want to approach where this zone is going to be heading. You can see on the minimap as well, the zone does continue to pull south as Oblivion are going to start to move off as well. They're not going to try and get those finishing kills onto Stallions. Instead, they need to think about how they want to progress, and they've now found a nice, comfortable place to call home for now.
A little porta cabin to play down on that low ground. The Newcastle wall's going to be down as well. Nice and electrified to stop those nades coming in. Window's going to be covered, a little bit of double glazing thanks to the amped cover coming in from Rampart as well. Meteor now, we mentioned how they wrapped zone of Viaducts. Well, now there's Supernova, Meteor and Zero Tenacity who are holding them out. This is going to be a tough move for them.
It really is going to be a horrible next 30 seconds or so. Zero Tenacity ahead of them, Supernova down to their south. I mean, you've already used your bubble, so it's about where do you go here. If you feel like one of the teams has maybe expended a little bit more of their utility whilst you've been watching this, you perhaps push them. If you see that Supernova are on blue, but you've just lost one, that's the worst thing to happen just before the zone's about to close.
The ALGS gets popped here, which means
give me
ults back.
God.
Lively still isn't dead, but the Thermite, they're going to have to get their toes burnt here, get a little bit crispy. They got no choice. They have to keep pushing this. They have to move forward. Supernova are going to leave that little area we were talking about, but for Meteor, it's going to have to be now as a 2.
Just on you go. Leave the other man behind as Shadow 36 now already been able to get 2 knocks in. It's on to Ninjas in Pajamas. I don't know if they'll finish off the whole squad, but they will at least get those kills. It is absolute carnage now as everyone's moving in.
Bubble, bubble, bubble. I'm sure someone is shouting that right now, but I don't think the Gibraltar had it available. Ninjas will be eliminated in the meantime. 2 squads now out of the lobby. Zeus is going to be last alive. He'll go down as well. Shadow 3690 eliminated. And this is the interesting thing I was kind of alluding to at the start of this match. This zone, you can see, where are the buildings? There's not many to play. It's all about open cover and artificial cover from the composition.
Especially when we had 20 squads still alive, there was always going to be this kind of mayhem. And there are some teams that are really picking up the points because of it. Zero Tenacity also go down in 17th position. Envy, one of the favorites for this lobby, an advantage point here on the west side, and they are going to ruin the day of anyone who wants to try and approach them. It's Meteor, the remainder of Meteor that are ahead of them here.
One good nade is going to flush him out from between those 2 blue crates. A couple of nades in the backpack of dropped here if he wants to choose to use them. Maybe going to look to use them towards the end game instead. Utility management so important. Sometimes you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of using it now and keeping it a little bit later, and something like grenades in those endgame, we know how vital they can be, not just for clearing space, but for picking up those extra, almost guaranteed kill points with everyone so close together. Speaking of which, Stallions underneath ALGS and Hungry, and VKG just next to them as well.
Well, if you thought it was carnage in the previous zone, it's going to be even more in the next, as Meteor do finally get finished off by Envy. But in this next 10 seconds, we need to see about 10 squads all move into the next zone. And it has benefited the likes of FaZe Clan, Dreamfire, who were down south already, Disguise, center zone. But apart from that, you've got all these teams that are in the building on top of each other that all have to progress right now.
ALGS and Hungry did leave that building. Envy still continuing to rotate underneath. They're going to create a temporary camp to play from. Wall down on one side from the Newcastle. The castle wall will protect their north. Couple of rampart walls going down as well, and then Sheila is lined up here to destroy this castle wall. Yanya just letting it rip here.
The bubble came down just to stop his bullets, and he was like, guys, can you wait? Can you let me at least get the kills first? As now Team Burger will be eliminated, and Envy will just be able to hold this spot for now, but Disguise very close indeed to them, as now we see also skyward dives begin to happen as everyone trying to find somewhere to play.
Supernova get a little bit closer to space with that Valkyrie ult. NRG now looking to slide down. They're going to be inside of the bubble of the team that is below them. Now it's just about hitting the shots. A big 99 hit is going to be good. Nocturnal will find one. Guild finds the second. It's a clean wipe onto GHS Professional as Envy starts strong here. But here, on the third party, come Oblivion.
Oblivion come, but they may be greeted by the shotgun of fun. Nocturnal, last remaining player.
Gets the armor swap.
Get help, does get the armor swap as well. Oblivion will fall, and now NRG just trying to survive.
Trying to survive. 11 squads now remaining. Look like that will be the end of NRG as Stallions also involved in a little fight themselves. Yanya now left on his own. It will be NRG officially eliminated. A couple of players just jumping into these bubbles. Yanya can't get the job done, and Envy maybe a little bit of a disappointing end to their game here as Stallions down to 1. Scurry, he's gone as well, and all of a sudden the pace has beyond picked up.
Doesn't matter where you look, there's a fight happening. Another one. August and Hungary coming in to try and clean up the pieces onto VK. Have they done enough? The Nemesis will get those final bullets, and August and Hungary win the battle of the Northeast. But there's still fights happening on the South. Reignite, Dreamfire, LG are all posturing up.
And LG have kind of just snuck their way in towards this zone. They were playing on that eastern side for quite some time. But now you can see they've got up to 2 red armors. They've got 1 purple armor to play with as well, so they're going to be pretty well suited to take some fights. The bubble will go down as well. Reignite, bang center zone at the moment if you need an indication of where that zone is going.
Love the position from Reignite, but maybe someone else wants to have it. Now LG, a slow group stage. Can they find anything in the elimination? They've lost 2 here. It's not looking great for LG, but maybe Funk can save them.
Trying to get funky if you're an LG fan. Can he clutch? That's the question. No, he cannot. LG will be eliminated. Dreamfire go down as well, much to the disappointment of the crowd here in Sapporo. But it's August and Hungary who have managed to reset, who now have a safe spot to play, and they've got some height.
Dragons on height, Reignite in a fantastic position.
Yes, he just sent it onto them.
Suddenly, Disguise get involved. They go down. August and Hungary now in one of the positions they can push from the south. By the way, there's still a solo from FaZe Clan that could make a difference in this.
DSG tried to cast a wall up onto the position that August and Hungary were trying to hold, and August and Hungary just swatted them aside like a fly. 5 squads now remaining. Reignite still alive. Bang, center zone. FaZe Clan with that solo, like you said, and it's Dragons and August and Hungary who make up the other 2 teams.
Trying to see who actually has Newcastle walls to play with here in this final circle. As Dragons now have to move, they'll jump onto the solo. Nags just desperately trying to escape here. And I think Dragons is just going to throw him into someone else as Matafa who gets the kill in the end.
August and Hungary should be the team who have the best position to win this game. Haven't even expended the bubble of the Gibraltar henchmen. Keeping that in the back pocket because they are just observing what is about to happen in front of them. Reignite versus Dragons surely have to be the 2 teams to engage, as they are stood right next to each other. A little bit of extra cover going down. The question is there going to be enough time for that respawn beacon to even hit?
The Dark Veil's going to play a big part in this, by the way. There's going to be a lot of vision that's lost.
F-Chan going to try and get the bubble down, but he gets pumped. It's going to be panic from Dragon, who gets that knock. The second one will come in as well. Reignite will get those kills, but like we thought would happen, August and Hungary are there to collect that win. A simple finish for them. But simple in these lobbies, you'll take it if you can get it.
You said it yesterday, August and Hungary can just turn up out of nowhere and find victories. And sure, they didn't have the momentum on their side yesterday, but now it seems like they have found their footing in this lobby. 13 kills alongside a victory, a big 25 points to kick off their bracket stage.
And when you're in the elimination bracket, there is no better feeling than knowing the pressure that you're under. You're going to be under for the entirety of the tournament, but winning game number 1, all of a sudden you feel like, right, let's go on a run, boys. Let's get this going. Let's continue this momentum. And it's not just the win. Like you mentioned, it's the KP that went alongside it. Everything seemed to click for August and Hungary. 12 placement points, 13 KP, 25 points in the bag.
August and Hungary have always been a team that are not scared to be aggressive at the right time, but it was calculated aggression when they did join those fights. They noticed weaknesses of teams that were just maybe still selling from a previous fight, or they'd been shot from someone else, so they were pretty low and weak, and then August and Hungary took advantage of that and jumped in to get involved and then took their position. They'll be delighted to start off this way. There was a chance for the likes of Reignite, but they had really kind of hunkered down dead center, and they didn't really have much coverage of anything else. They couldn't take as much for the map as they would have liked. So in the end, they just succumbed to their own difficult scenario.
Yeah, just the 1 KP there for Reignite as we take a look at our heavy hitters for match number 1. It's Matafe leading the way with 5 kills, who will be your Apex Predator. Warlord is going to Sweet, a much improved performance from him with the amount of damage dealt coming in from the IGL from LG.
Yeah, you need that as well. You need Sweet to be stepping up today if LG are going to progress into elimination bracket round 2. But as I mentioned earlier, it's something we've seen them do before in Split 2 playoffs. When their backs were against the wall, that's when they showed they were at their very best.
They certainly did indeed. A pretty solid performance in that game number 1 coming in from LG. I think they'll be much happier with how today has started in comparison to what was a lackluster day 1 and 2. But it's August and Hungary that we really need to be kind of highlighting here, because that's a really good performance. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It was when third-party opportunities appeared in front of them, they were so aggressive, and there was no fight that it felt like when they were the third party that someone got knocked. They were all playing their lives well enough to make sure that when they when they got the kills that nobody had to be revived, that they wasted those extra 2-3 seconds to get a player back onto their feet.
I feel like yesterday and the day before when they were competing, there was a lot of times where they were outpaced by some teams who were doing it better. They were finding that aggression at the right time and taking that spot away from ALGS and Hungary, and they were too late. Yes, you can be the third party who third parties, but actually with the ability to reset and the meta that we're in right now, it's difficult to do.
Well, we're going to wrap up match number 1 here and get ready for match number 2. Just before we do though, we're going to head to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Match number 2 just around the corner as the elimination bracket round 1 will continue.
Forward a little bit.
Yeah, moving.
That's it. Chill,
You need to bubble deep, and so we play the backside of bubble, okay?
Hold it, bubble on them.
Oh wow, it was horrible.
It's fine. Why won't?
Good ball. Yeah. Just buy time. I have slam after.
I'm nading it.
Play slow. Play slow. And slamming in front of the wall, okay?
Yes, do it.
Nice. Everyone.
Fuck them all, baby.
Report 1.
Jump over.
I know where the fuck.
Let's fucking go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Come on now.
Come on now, baby.
Come on.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Match number 2 is loading up in the background, but you just saw the winning moment from match number 1, where ALGS and Hungary were able to close out, and just a little bit of utility management was something to highlight there, Dan. The Catalyst wall just locked off those 2 other teams, and then Matafe clearly saying, wait till they fight, play it slow, I can slam them with my wall, send them back, and then we should win the game.
I noticed as well from F-Chan's POV, you know, dropping the res beacon, then also throwing a bubble, and just felt like there was so much emphasis on throwing out their own utility. He wasn't shooting anyone.
Shoot the gun.
And I think that is what happens in this meta. Everyone's so worried about where other people are going to go and having to get your bubble down, having to get a wall down, having to get a redeploy down, whatever, and then you just don't shoot. So I think that's maybe a lesson to be learned from them, and perhaps as they move forward. But that is typical Reignite, right? They're very good at getting into a position, very good at playing the survival game, but they maybe just need to work on some of those final circles.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that it's kind of always been highlighted when we talk about ALGS and Hungary, right? It's just that little bit of end-game management that sometimes can elude them, but it's tough, right? You're on the world stage. You get into those tough lobbies and you've got some of the best IGLs and players in the world. It's always going to be difficult to find that exact, precise moment to make the plays off the back of. But certainly a confidence builder for them in that first game, and I think the fact that they got a huge amount of KP alongside it, Dan, is going to make them feel extremely confident. I think they're going to be pretty happy with things.
Yeah, they'll be delighted. I think when you get into a circle like that and you have the Dark Veil, of course, ALGS and Hungary having the Dark Veil, being able to play that one side of it, it was always going to be so tough for everyone else, because when you play against a team that has Catalyst in that final circle and you don't have a Catalyst, of course, you walk through that wall, all your vision is impaired, you are going to probably lose that fight. So you have to try and stay on your side for as long as possible, and it really does suck. And that's why during the Catalyst meta, when we had Dark Veils everywhere, everyone had to play Catalyst just so you had someone to be that kind of poke damage person.
almost feel like in this meta as well, like Catalyst has become the end game legend. It feels like if you can get to end game and you feel like you sacrifice something that might help you get along the way to endgame, Catalyst almost becomes what we used to talk about with Caustic back in the day. You remember, if you can get Caustic to endgame and there's no other Caustics, you win the game. The Dark Veil certainly can be a difference maker for sure. And we've just seen it in that previous game. Before we head into match number 2, let's have a little look at how things stand after that game number 1. 25 points for ALGS and Hungry. Dragons in behind them as well. They played that bridge position pretty well. Disguised up in 3rd place. Envy and LG, the North American powerhouses, 5th and 6th consecutively.
As a reminder, 8 matches here in the elimination round 1. Top 10 go through to elimination round 2. Bottom 10, sadly, it will be the end of their tournament. And it's tough to try and work out what that cutoff is going to be at match number 1. And of course, it was tough to work out what that cutoff was going to be in group stages. It was a little bit more.
Bit of head scratching went on, didn't it?
We were actually able to look at, how many kills were here at Champs compared to Split 2, and there was only around 20 to 25 more kills at this tournament. It wasn't that many more, but I also think looking across the lobbies, there were a few underperformers that weren't picking up points, which just allowed that to transition to some of the mid-table teams.
Well, and again, just look at the full house that is here in Sapporo. This is, it's day 3. We've still got 2 days of action ahead of us. You can only imagine what it's going to look like, but the passion that is flowing out of these fans. I feel like everybody came armed with a sign today.
As you should.
As you should.
I think it's very important.
I'm scared. Sometimes I'm scared to read some of the signs. I feel more confident reading the signs here than Birmingham.
Even if they're in Japanese and I have no idea, I'm confident that it's going to say good things. Speaking of good things, Ninjas in Pyjamas hasn't necessarily been all good things. Hasn't been the rosy performance that maybe we would witness from this team, the upbeat celebrations and everyone having fun. Instead, it's kind of been a little bit downbeat. It's not been the Ninjas we would maybe expect, and we have seen them change their composition today. They're switching onto the rampart. Maybe they just feel like they didn't have enough coverage when they're working into these zones that, especially like the game we just saw, right? Absolute mayhem. Whichever way you look, there's going to be a team. If you don't have a rampart, very difficult to stay alive.
Yeah, it's difficult to command space as well, even if you get in a good spot. If you don't have the ability to destroy castle walls around you from other teams, that team's going to set up and poke you. And it's very, very tough to, like I say, command that space unless you've got that Sheila in the composition to be used with the crazy uptime that it currently has to destroy some of those castle walls. But for NIP, like I say, it's such a momentum team. Yeah, it's such a momentum team. One good game, they're all getting hyped, they're all getting fired up, and all of a sudden, before you know it, it's the NIP that we've grown to love over the years. So a lot of games to go today. Remember, this is a 8-game series. We've only just seen the first one. We've got 7 more to go, and we've got 2 more on E-District before we head over to Storm Point.
Yeah, sadly, I think that Ninjas in Pyjamas were one of those teams who picked Storm Point as their first map, despite the fact they were picking in like 13th. And sadly for them, Storm Point only being played twice. But Nasky did say, even with that being the case, they're still pretty happy with their POIs on World's Edge and on E-District.
One kind of devil's advocate on this is maybe looking at the rotation. Maybe you want to just get a couple of good games on Storm Point, ride the momentum, then go into World's Edge feeling confident with some points on the board. It's something to think about, or was it just that they didn't realize?
It was that they didn't realize, but I like that we've tried to find...
I should work on their PR team. That's what I should do.
You really should. But there is something to be said about momentum, and I think you just now have to play the situation that you find yourself in, and if you can put up some big points on Storm Point, that might be enough. Like, sometimes you only need 2 good games to get you through to the next round. So it's not like it's impossible, and it's not like it's going to hurt them that much.
Well, game number 2 is about to be live. Seeing some of the picks that are coming in from the teams as well. The compositions displayed, not just for you at home, but for some of the people who are in the arena as well. As elimination round 1 will now continue. Zone-wise, not going to spoil it just yet. But
one of your favorites?
I'm just saying GHS Professionals pick looks pretty good still.
We have seen a couple of Humbert Lab zones, and maybe that's where we're going to be heading, but we'll wait for ring console information just for that clarity. But it's ALGS and Hungary who win the loot camp to begin this game after they very successfully were being aggressive at the right times, but might be a problem for Kinda. So we'll see how that one goes. Don't do it, Kinda. You're fine.
Don't scare me like that.
You're fine. He's fine. Also, by the way, in the fan zone, there are loot bins, out like full-size loot bins.
No, I took a nap in one yesterday.
Well,
Glitter was like, "Oh, you should just open it and see what happens." And I opened it, it fell over. Like it was top end heavy, and everyone.
I wasn't in that one.
I was very embarrassed.
Imagine if you would have opened it and you just found me.
You're in there.
This is why I can't be trusted.
Oh, okay. I've seen the zone. Not going to be where you thought it was. Where we thought it was going to be.
No, it was me. You didn't give an opinion. You can blame me for that one. Looks like we're going towards Energy Bank after we get the console information. So X and Y, who are on our screens right now, not only hitting the Evo Harvesters to get up to blue, but also going to have a real chance at a priority spot here. And they're going to have, I think, a couple of different Evo Harvesters around. So they're going to be pretty close to purples, which is exactly where you want to be, right? If you're landing center map, POI, that's going to be where the zone is going as well. And you've got some Evo Harvesters around. It's kind of the perfect tonic.
I think it's bad news for a lot of the edge teams because all of the teams that are close to the center here, like NRG, Oblivion, Zero Tenacity, LG, Disguised, they're all the closest teams to get to the middle, and they all have ring consoles as well, so they're all going to move fast, they're all going to take those priority positions, and sadly for a lot of these edge teams, they're going to arrive late, and now we noticed that a couple of teams have moved over to Valkyrie. You might need Valkyrie for this zone, because getting into Energy Bank after everyone's set up, very difficult with the chokes that are there.
Also interesting, very similar, maybe zone kind of playstyle to what we saw in that previous game because of all the POIs. Energy Bank, even though there's that huge structure in the middle, there's a couple of buildings kind of scattered around the outside, but in general, a lot of it is open ground, small little kind of cubbies that you can see from the POV here of NRG. But one of the places that I think a lot of teams will be very hungry to get is that balcony that overlooks a lot of those southern sides of where this zone is pulling.
Speaking of NRG, a tough day for them yesterday, but they were one of the teams that didn't boot camp. They didn't get that benefit. They arrived on Monday, I believe, and it has been an adjustment. Obviously, no excuses, and I'm sure they won't want to use those excuses either, but there is always those different factors of those long days after a 14-plus hour time difference for some of these guys. So we'll see whether they're a little bit more well-rested and more prepared today.
Yeah, I can attest to the struggles. But I rested well last night, 7 hours.
You did? You slept?
7 hours, which is why I've been so unbearable this morning. I feel like a human again.
Energy are going to be more than happy with the position they found themselves in. They're on the northeast side of Energy Bank, and actually the position they find themselves in, they might be able to pick up some kills of the late rotators. As Envy down on the southeast, over towards Humbert Labs, it's GHS Professional that they're looking at. Of course, GHS dropping here. And if Envy do get a good amount of damage, they might just want to jump on this one. They were trying to rotate past them, but now you have to take the fight sometimes. Oh, there is a lot of damage being done. VKG are actually receiving so much damage here.
Envy trying to push up on this still. Look at the kill feed. You're seeing a couple of fights taking place as well. LG been involved in one of those. 2 players from Z10 going to be going down, so it looks like LG have a really good LOS onto this little hut. Even with the Newcastle wall there, Sykes is getting knock after re-knock after re-knock with that scout. You have to wonder if LG are thinking about maybe trying to push this and wiping it, but closing that gap in this meta, Dan, it's always so risky, especially when you know there's other teams around.
LG also not in a bad spot. Ninjas in Pajamas also lost a couple of players in the kill feed as well. I think it was Team Burger who had done that damage. Just a couple of people with charge rifles being able to really ruin the day from some others who thought they were setting up comfortably. Zero Tenacity lose Bambino again. And it looks like LG are trying to close in with Sheila.
Team Burger, this is the central structure here of Energy Bank. They're going to be chilling here for quite some time. They don't really need to do too much from here. The only thing you have to worry about is some of the entries. There's a lot of doorways and a lot of different routes to get into some of these areas. There's definitely a team outside. As we hear, once again, the musical notes of Sheila. I reckon Sim will play as Sheila.
I reckon Sim
Sim
will play Sheila's song.
will have a Sheila to play. No?
I hope so.
Maybe that's what I can play in Sim.
Actually, to be fair, if Sheila did sound like anything, probably would be a song by Sim.
LG back up onto the high ground here. Now, yesterday, just kind of looking across some of the VODs, it felt like Sykes one of those players, and I hate to call people out, but you gotta say what you see. Maybe wasn't making the most of the availability of Sheila. We talk about the uptime of the ultimate that is available for Rampart and how often you can use it, especially with the accelerator hop-up that's on the Scout, that's on the Nemesis, really is just, it feels like it's available all the time. And if you aren't firing the bullets, if you aren't using it to destroy walls, to create space around you, it can be a little bit detrimental. So maybe that's something they've looked at overnight, and I'm sure Sykes is aware of it more than anyone. As Ninjas will get the respawn, as he's done his job, Zayn and Amphi will be back in the game.
I think it's something we don't talk about enough with how difficult it is to try and completely change your playstyle and learn a legend just for a meta that's forcing you to do so as well. Like, okay, we need a Rampart, who's going to do it and who's going to play it? And you really have to quickly adjust of when to use the ultimate, how are you going to do it, when can you put that amp cover down, where are you going to be putting that amp cover down as well. And you know, sometimes it does take a tournament or two to actually learn it, and then by the time you've done so, they might have fallen out of the meta as well. So sometimes it's those flex players that can just switch from legend to legend that really can be the difference makers for some of these teams.
Well, there's your map overhead. You can see Ninjas right at the north side in the zone at the moment. They've only just respawned, but I'm still really interested in this Humbert Labs kind of engagement that we're seeing. VK Gaming, GHS Professional, and Envy, who are still kind of scuffling, shuffling towards the zone. We're also going to see a potential wrap ambush here coming in from Stallions. And it's Dragons, who were the team I think might have been aware of their position.
Well, Ninjas are also to their left here as well. So Stallions might be running into, you can see it, you saw it. One remaining player of Ninjas who had just got back the rest of their teammates.
I think Krieg just spotted him.
Stallions need to be careful. They're putting themselves in a pretty difficult situation, but they will be able to get the ring console, so it was worth their aggression.
Gonna have to expel the bubble to use it, to make sure there's no problems. FaZe Clan on your screens right now. Again, this is at the northern side of things. It's Dragons who have now rotated into the position they're holding. These choke holds, we mentioned the surround energy bank to get in. It feels like you have to pay your ticket to get past the toll at the moment, and FaZe Clan are the ones holding it down.
Really have